Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to Monetary Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel. And as you can see on the screen in front of you right now, today's installment is going to be taking a closer look at the new GI Joe Classified series, Zanya and Dreadnok Chameleon, bracket, Swamp Skier. So stick around, folks, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know. So if you've been thinking about picking up this set, you'll have plenty of thorough information to make a nice, solid purchase decision around. We'll kick things off by jumping back in time and visiting past Chris, taking a look at the packaging on the day it arrived on my doorstep. Then we'll get into the figure and the skier itself, talk about the aesthetic and visual experience of the two items in the set. Then onto the figure, talk about the articulation and posability. Have a little chat about some of the movement and articulation in the Swamp Skier itself as well. Then we'll head into accessories and added value and have a rundown of all the extra bits and bobs that are included in the set and weigh up whether we think they're adding value to the cash price. And then we'll wrap up by dropping Zanya next to a couple of other Dreadnoks, see how she looks in display, see how she looks with some other GI Joe Classified series figures. And with all that said and done, you should have plenty of information to make your mind up as to whether this is a set you want to crack your wallet or purse open for. So let's get into it. Let's jump back in time. Let's visit past Chris taking a look at the packaging and see what he's got to say, shall we? Here we go. All right, folks, well, here is Zanya and the Dreadnok Chameleon, bracket Swamp Skier in packaging here. Interesting, we've got the digital render on the front in this instance. I like this little digital render, nice action shot, but I like the little comedy monkey wrench collision going on in the background. Gives me a wee little chuckle. But yeah, you got the big digital render image on the front there, giving it nice shelf presence, and then the little window down the side here showing off the figure with some of the associated accessories and goodies that come with Zanya. Very reminiscent of, obviously, the style of the vintage GI Joe figure releases when you used to have the big picture and the little figure window. Then on the back here, we can see that Zanya and the Swamp Skier is 194 in the line. Got this little info bit at the back here, showing off the figure and all the goodies, giving you a few breakaway windows, showing off a few of the key features, a small instruction box about how to fit the skis on the side of the Swamp Skier, legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom, and then, of course, the file card information. So first up here, we've got the crossbones with the $ over the top of it. This is because Zanya has just recently self-published her first ever fan fiction novel on Amazon. That's right, folks, you can go and buy it and read it now. It's a fan fiction romance about pirates. Would you believe? This here, of course, is the stack of books in the Amazon warehouse waiting to be sold, flying out the door, making her loads and loads of dollar. We got a little steering wheel here because, you know, Zanya likes things that go boom, 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 which I'll be doing with that Swamp Skier in a few minutes. And then a lovely little action fist thing here, which we've seen a bazillion times and are running out of jokes for. Not that these are jokes, they're all legitimate lore items, you can look them up. He's a little bit too big for my little action figure stage, so I've had to come all the way back here, but the artwork on the side, proper shaky, that, folks, isn't it? What do you think? I think it's a bit shaky. Not just shaky because I'm holding the camera rather than putting it on my tripod, but also shaky because it looks a bit pants. And then this side's just got all the usual rubbish on that I can't be asked talking about. And there we are then, folks. There's Zanya and the Swamp Skier in packaging. But I'm going to crack this open, get good and hands-on, get some man-child play time in, pose her up, get her integrated with a few of the other Dreadnoks and what have you, pop her in display, take a few pickies, play with the Swamp Skier, like I say, get a bit of going on the living room floor for my own entertainment. I'll jot down a few review thoughts and I'll come back to share those review thoughts. So stick around. Future Chris is going to come back with those in 3, 2, 1. All right then, folks. Well, here is Zanya and she came out of the package. We're going to kick off with the aesthetic and visual experience now to get the review section of the video started, and then we'll have a quick look at the Swamp Skier in a minute. And here's a head-to-toe look of Zanya as she came out the box. And, you know, if you're familiar with Zanya as a Devil's Due comic character, she's pretty much got all the key visual identifying features that you would associate with Zanya. She's got the green dreadlocked hair, which is a kind of key part of her visual identity. The green combats with the, logo T on the top. Again, pretty standard stuff for the way she appeared frequently in the comic books. Obviously, they've gone with the Dreadnok logo there. The knee pads, the big biker boots. It all adds up. She's a good interpretation of the character, as any Devil's Due comic fan would probably agree. Getting in a bit closer then, let's have a look at some of the finer details. Let's have a chat about the head sculpt. And I like the head sculpt. I think it's interesting. It's got quite a lot of character and personality. You can see some in the first instance, some good sculpting. There's nice facial features there with the chin, the cheeks, the nose, the eyebrows, etc., etc. But then we've got the lovely paint applications with the black lipstick and the eyeshadow and stuff in there, kind of amping up her kind of punky, gothy credentials, along with the little studs and piercings. She's got a little stud in her nose, little eyebrow piercings, stud in her I don't know what that bit's called down there on the just under her lip, stood on her lip itself. You know, all good, well sculpted, well painted, excellent work. And then the hair piece, which is removable, we'll revisit that a little bit later on, has got some nice sculpting on the dreadlocks there, and you can see, you know, some nice sculpted detail as it's kind of knotted up at the back here, tied up at the back, and the way her dye job gets lighter towards the tips. Got a choker, little, you know, metal fashion, punky metal embellishment there. You can see the individual paint applications on each of the studs on that. They're a little bit sloppy, but they're fine, you know, in terms of the overall kind of visual experience. And she's got the T with some texture detail on the collar section and on the ends of the sleeves. I think these are like more kind of bracer type things, maybe some sort of armor protection with the Dreadnok symbol decal on the front there. And Zanya's, you know, nice body sculpt, good physique. I like the way the cut top has this kind of drape, very accurate looking kind of cut top drape across the top there. And then she's got the two dove tattoos here on her abs. Looks like doves being shot with an arrow. And then moving further down into the trousers, you can see one of Chris's favourites, painted belt buckle and painted belt loops over the top of the belt, which is in black leather across the middle, and then a nicely painted and, well, sculpted and painted little wallet chain running to the back there, although there is a little bit of paint spillage just here, as you can see. Then more sculpted detail and texture detail to bring it to life. Down into the legs, you can see the kind of fabric texture detail in the combat pants. Painted little black painted zips there on the sides. Got the sculpted knee pads in a different colour in the grey, and then a nice leathery effect across the boots with the steel boot caps on them. And if I turn her around there, you can see more of that sculpted detail, like the pockets here with the stitching on them, little bits of creasing here at the top of the trouser legs, little bunching up bits where the trousers are at the back of the knee. And as they bunch up across the top of the boots as well. So yeah, overall pretty decent shelf presence, quite consistent with the sort of broad dreadnocky vibe where it's quite individual and personal, but has these kind of uniformal elements in the sense of the sort of broad themes and kind of punky stroke heavy metal stroke gothy tropes that they combine with these, the kind of biker tropes and stuff. So yeah, good, solid, and as I mentioned before, nice representation of the character, a good interpretation of the character, as a fan of the Devil's Due comic might recall us. So there you go, there's Zanya. Let's have a quick look at the swamp skier then. So here it is, and as you can see, folks, it's drawing very heavy inspiration from the vintage swamp skier from back in the day. Got the green colour scheme, got the little chameleon decal here in the yellow and black design. It's the kind of broad design features are pretty much exactly the same as they were on the vintage model. So this is drawing very heavy inspiration from that. Although, to be fair, in the comic books as well, it was in this kind of pukey green colour, at least to my visual memory. As I'm thinking about it now, I haven't double checked that. And, you know, to look at it immediately, you're like, it's a swamp skier. No probs at all. So we've got the green section here at the top with various embellishments to bring it to life, like the brown padding on the seating section. A couple of painted bits here at the back. You can see the sort of paneling and little vents and whatnot sculpted in there. We've got sculpted details in the control panel and sculpted details here on the kind of handlebar section at the top, along with some little decals to add the sort of speed gauges and what have you at the top there. Then we've got the engine detail down here in the lower sections. Got the black underneath then with this sort of grey plastic over the top with your exhaust pipes and your combustion engines and all that kind of stuff. You can see that little kind of jet section there. Got the exhausts out here at the back and a little jet section here too. Little red painted section at the back there. Various kind of sculpted mechanical details in there to bring it to life and give it some depth. And then the skis themselves, as you can see, are sculpted in. These are in the core black plastic, but you can see all the sculpted detail going on there. And here on the front, you can see got this little machine gun port out the front, and then the transparent plastic for the lighting on the front, and then the transparent, sort of yellowy transparent plastic for another set of lights just to give it a bit more detail. So it's all right. It's okay. My main criticism remains the same as when I saw it previewed, in that it's giving off a little bit too much of a plasticky vibe. The green top's not too bad, although I stress the phrase "not too bad." But these grey plastic sections down the side really give it a very kind of plasticky, toyetic vibe. However, the sculpt itself is fine. Yeah, it's lovely. What I will say as well is it feels a bit bigger than I imagine it to be. Like these handlebars are like super far forward, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was a bit more squat in terms of scale on the vintage figure and in the kind of comic book style. But I mean, that just is what it is. They've decided to go the size they've decided to go at the end of the day. So yeah, it's all fine. It looks good enough. It's not too bad, but it's definitely got this kind of toyetic, plasticky vibe about it. So okay, visually it's okay. I am going to give it a thumbs up. I like Zanya quite a bit, actually. Folks will know that I'm a huge advocate for kind of building out the gender diversity in the line. So it's great to see another female character. The female sculpt is good, solid. The articulation is, competitive or up to scratch, or all those good things. And I kind of sort of like the swamp skier. I did find it a little bit difficult when I was taking some photos the other day to integrate it into my pictures, but that's more to do with my limited amount of space, really, than anything else. But also trying to sort of diminish the plastic look a little bit. So I'm wavering down. I'm at a 10:30, 10 p.m., but it's definitely on the thumbs up side of the scale, mostly because of the Zanya figure. So there we go. Okay, so that's the aesthetic and the visual stuff. Let's now take a look at the articulation and posability, shall we? And as always, folks, I realise that there's some viewers out there not so interested in the articulation section of review videos, so avail yourself of the chapters. I've put timestamps in down below. Jump ahead to take a look at the accessories and added value if you're so inclined. But if you're interested to know about the Swamp Skier or Zanya, whether they've got any particular quirks, or it's the first time you've ever kind of seen a GI Joe Classified series review, stick around and I'll walk you through it. And in this section, I'll start with the Swamp Skier. And we'll begin with the skis at the bottom. We've obviously got the rear and the front sets. 2 pairs. You have to clip these on, and just a little word of warning for those picking it up new. You need to make sure you got the right rear ones and the right front ones. The front ones are the ones with this little lip section, and the rear ones have no lip section. If you put the wrong way round, you can't get them on properly. But as you can see, they're on you got the swivel point there on both the front and the back, and then the rear skis have got this kind of springy suspension on them. And then there's quite a bit of movement in here. There's a ball, I think, at the top there, so you can see you can sway, swivel. There's movement on that front section, on this front axis here. Then we've got the foot pedals are set on either side, and you can spin those out, move them on the ankle point there. So lots of movement there. Handlebars move forward and back like that. There's not a lot of movement side to side though. And then we've got the storage compartments, one at the front there underneath the steering column. And then we've got this one here in the main body underneath the seating section, which incidentally, I've not got to accessories yet, but like the shotgun and things can fit in there with a little bit of careful kind of Tetrising. You can get most of the stuff in. I gave it a try before. So that's the Swamp Skier. It's fine. Pretty much what you would expect articulation-wise. Nothing particularly too gimmicky. Seems reasonably practical for the way you might want to play with it. Then on to Zanya. We've got the ball at the base of the skull, ball at the base of the neck. Pretty good down to there. Her back is a lot better, but obviously the drape of the dreadlocks down the back with this particular design doesn't let you explore that too much. And same again with the spinning and tilting. It's there, but you can't do the full spin any further than that because of the dreadlocks. However, if you take that off and use the helmet piece, which we'll have a look at in a second, obviously you spin all the way around. Got a butterfly joint there in the shoulders, peg and hinge. So you can shuffle back and forth, go all the way around, full 360, and T-shape her out like so. Swivel here at the top of the bicep and tricep. Pinless double elbow that'll get you up to there, and then pegged in hands that can move at the wrist point, and then up and down hinges on these grippy hands that are on or out the packaging, but also the hand swops are up and down hinges as well. Then into the torso, got the barbell joint just there under her boobs, and then we've got the ball joint in the waist, so you've got lots of swivel at both of those points, twist and whatnot. The crunch is not great, but it's all right. But obviously, not great crunch can be a bit tricky when you're trying to sit on the Swamp Skier. Then we've got this belt over the top here, which is loose, so you can sort of move it around as you see fit. Ball at the hips and drop down joints in the groin. So you got the drop down there, giving you forward up to here, and then Russian ballet out to there. Got a swivel at the top of the thigh. Finless double knee, that'll get you up to there. Boot cut at, the top of the boot, quite high on this one. And then hinge and rocker in the ankles for the feet articulation. So yeah, they both articulate. She articulates fine, as you can see. Get her on the swamp skier. I feel like she sits a bit funny on it, like it's a bit oversized for her smaller, more feminine physique, but it's possible to do. I would just like to be able to bend these knees more and have her arse a little bit more on this back padding. But I have just thrown that together. I think you could probably finesse it into a bit of a better look. But otherwise, she's up to standard against the usual GI Joe Classified Series standard. No probs at all. So yeah, thumbs up, I think, on articulation. Lots of things to mess around with there. All right, well, with that said and done, let's move on to have a look at the accessories and added value, shall we? Okay, and we'll start with the kind of head helmety, hairy accessory. So as you can see, you can remove the hairpiece at the top. Similar sort of hairpiece removal system as we've seen with the likes of Shipwreck, Retro Cover Girl, Zorana, and you've got this kind of crash helmet, kind of soft cover crash helmet piece here that you can fit over the top there. That's a good look. Obviously, kind of leaning more into the sort of swamp skier sort of look. Nicely sculpted. I like the way these bits sort of dangle down the side. Got nice sculpted detail in there and sort of texture detail. Got these kind of padded protection sections going across the top. So yeah, nice addition. And of course, could be hinting at something else coming down the line that we've most desperately wanted. Zanya then has a couple of sets of eyewear. This is the first one. These kind of more kind of shade sunglasses-y style goggles with the sort of yellow lenses in them and the orange frames. With the big kind of protective section at the center there. As you can see, these fit fine under the helmet. They do also fit on her when she's in the hairpiece as well. So she can wear these without the helmet. You can see there's this kind of small little channel section where the hair just kind of swoops down over the top of the head sculpt. So that you can rest them across the top of the ears. Then Zanya has these kind of more traditional sort of goggles with the clear lenses and the round shape on them. I'm not too keen on these. Make her look a little bit Harry Potter, if you ask me. And as you can see, they're definitely all a bit bent and wobbly on the arms there in that soft rubbery style. But, choices, options. And then you have the full head swap option here with the ski mask version. Look at that. So she's got smaller, much more tighter dreadlocks coming across the back with the strap sections here. The earrings are still painted in underneath, and then we've got this silvery ski mask with the red paint embellishments on it, and then the ski mask kind of cutaway grated sections, giving off some nice, serious serial killer vibes. And then in the eye sockets here, just these kind of dark lenses, giving it that even further. More of that kind of horror movie ski mask serial killer kind of vibe, which is really great. And again, just opens up your world of possibility with how you might want to display her, the types of photos you might want to take with her, etc., etc. Then moving into Zanya's weapon loadout, here's the first item, her big kind of machete. We've seen this in the line before. I think it was Copperhead that had this, but always very appreciative of a nice metallic paint application on the blade and sculpted details in there. So this is a nice piece of kit, and again, very consistent with that sort of dreadnocky melee blade weapon type thing that's going on. And this has on-figure storage on that belt I was talking about before. Just slide it into this little sheath here, like so. Hey, one thing I noticed about this belt that she's got across the middle, there's this little hook here, but I've got no idea what that hook's for. I don't think, I'm about to talk about the shotgun, I don't think you would hook your shotgun by the trigger there like that, would you? So I don't know if this is reuse from someone previously, or perhaps planned for reuse with someone coming down the line with something they can hook on the waist there, because I don't think that makes sense, does it? Does it? You end up blowing your toes off. In any case, there's the shotgun. We've seen this before again. Who had this first? I can't remember. Falcon, sorry. But we've seen a couple of versions of these. I've got a black one with I think a red handle on it. Who had that one? Anyway, doesn't matter. We've seen it before. Pump action shotgun with the fold out stock on these little kind of clippy sections here. I didn't like this fold out stock the first time, and I still don't like it now. Just these kind of look at that. Yeah. Not a fan of that, so I tend to keep it up like so. But yeah, all fine and dandy. Big old shotgun for shooting people. That's what she does. And we got the long barrel, what's this, Magnum 44? Sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong. Someone will tell me in the comments down below. But I think this is reused as well from Copperhead. That certainly looks familiar to me, with the scope at the top, the long barrel, nice silver paint job over the kind of core, the barrel and the chamber and the kind of core section of the gun with the black handle on it. As you can see, it's a bit rubbery and a bit misshapen. I will heat it kind of into a better shape, but that's how it came out of the box, and I've left it that way for the purposes of the review. And then this comes with its backpack sheath. Like I say, this was with Copperhead to begin with that nice leathery texture effect, and the straps with the extra bullets in, although sadly no paint applications on the bullets that are stored in there. It has got the annoying bloody like mushroom pot stud thing. These just do my head in. I don't like these at all. They never stay in place, but you can obviously put the gun in like so, and then pop it down. In theory, pop it down like so. There you go. Stay put. It is pegged. She has got a peg hole on the back, but you can obviously only use it when she's in her helmet or ski mask head configuration, because the dreadlocks coming down the back cover up the peg hole. And then finally, Zanya comes with a couple of closed fist hands, nice sculpting on the fingers, nice paint application on the fingers, then with the same grey colour scheme that ties the wrapping around her fists. And these are just a straight up peg swap. So, I mean, it's okay. It's a solid accessory selection. The goggles are a bit shaky. As we've experienced with some of the sunglasses in the past, they don't quite fit right, and you have to fidget with them a lot. And they're of that rubbery plastic. These ones seem to sit a bit better than the black goggles that make her look like Harry Potter. I suppose the question is, like, we've got accessories, good accessories. They're decent. They open up the world of possibility for displaying and photographing. But are they added value? I think I'd have to argue no. This was an expensive set, comparable to previous kind of big chunky dudes like this with vehicles chucked in. It was, an inflated price, and there's not quite enough, I think. Not quite enough to open up the world of possibilities wide enough to justify that price, especially when you've got nothing going on with the swamp scale. Like, I'd have liked, if you've got the pegged holster here for the pistol, like a little, like, couldn't they have drilled out a little section here and you can fit the holster on the side and maybe do some more stuff? I don't know. I just feel like there should have been more. It's a good selection. It does let you do stuff with the figure. It's great for playtime, great for photographing, but it's not added value, I don't think. Not added value. So there you go. But of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. All right, well, there's the accessories. Let's now take a look at Zanya next to a couple of other figures, and then maybe drop Zartan on the swamp skier as well, shall we? All right, folks, well, to start us off, obviously, we've got to get Zanya next to Daddy Dearest. Here she is with Zartan there. I don't know if that's a spoiler if you've not read the Devil's Due comic. Well, whoops, if it is. But there we go. There they are. Father and daughter, killer dreadnoks. So lovely. So lovely they can do stuff together. They've got hobbies father and daughter can do. Here's Zartan on the swamp skier, and even with his extra height, I know I was saying about Zanya being a bit of an awkward fit. He looks a little bit uncomfortable, bit of an awkward fit, although better for sure. I've not finessed this, I've just dumped him on for the sake of filming. It can get a bit frustrating because sometimes when you're trying to get the hands around the handlebars, you end up popping a foot off the peg at the bottom, and then you try and put the foot back on the peg, and then the hand pops off, and then so you're like, well, this leg needs to be stretched out longer, and anyway, it becomes a faff. Here's Zanya, folks, with her auntie and uncle. I was going to say beloved auntie and uncle, but if I remember right, I don't think she got on very well with Zorana. It's been a little while since I read it, but I think the two of them were at loggerheads a lot. I'll have to go back and reread them, maybe. Here she is with the Valaverse Pandora. There's one you don't see very often on my videos. But Pandora hangs with my dreadnoks. I use her to embellish my dreadnok lineup, and yeah, these two look pretty mean and nasty together, don't they? And finally, here is Zanya with Monkey Wrench, who was one of 3 dreadnoks who recruited Zanya, in fact. Monkey Wrench, Zanzibar, and Norgahide. Okay, folks, well, here is Zanya going around on the turntable for a 360 look, and the swamp ski is just in the background because it's too long to to fit on my little recording stage. So enjoy the 360 look of Zanya, and that'll have to be that. And while you're looking at that, I'll offer up some final thoughts. And do you know what, folks? It's okay. It's all right. I like Zanya. I like having her in the collection. I like expanding the Dreadnok roster. I like interesting comic book characters. I like more females in the line. That all adds up. That's all good. I'm a little underwhelmed by the Swamp Skier. I've not really been reaching for it much to take photos. It's a bit too long and unwieldy to fit on my risers for the little displays. I don't know. It's just not quite captured my imagination the way I had hoped it would. And given the price and given the fact that the Swamp Skier is the thing really bumping up the price, it's probably making me lean a little bit more negative than positive, even though I actually quite enjoy the Zanya figure and I've been doing quite a few bits with her. So, and that's about the sum total of it, really. I mean, fundamentally, it's a pretty standard GI Joe Classified series set. And I am judging them by their own standard. I mean, compared to some other stuff that I've looked at recently, I'm like, whoa, this is good. But yeah, a little underwhelmed, I think, overall. So yeah, I'm not going to labour the point on that. I'm going to leave that as is. Oh, she's wobbling a bit there on that turntable, isn't she? And I'll wrap it up there, I think, with a tentative maybe recommends if you're loaded. If you're not loaded or you're less interested in comic book characters, then this is probably a safe skip. I mean, if you know if you wanted to army build these Swamp Skiers to load up your Dreadnoks on, cost you a small fortune, and I just don't think the Swamp Skier. I just don't think they look good enough sitting on the Swamp Skier. I've tried. Obviously, I showed you Zartan before. I tried a few of them on. It didn't quite work out for me. So, yeah, there we go. All right, well, if you did find this useful, obviously help a brother out by doing all the YouTube buttons that help this brother out. If you're not already subscribed, hit the like, all that blah, blah, blah. But otherwise, I'll leave it there and say, hope you have a great day, hope you have a great week, and I'll ask you to swing back again for another video sometime soon. All right, take it easy, folks.